Alright, so in this video I'm going to share with you a really simple technique that's personal and relevant and near and dear to my heart at this time. And it's something that's very high leverage and something that can create a lot of transformation and growth and change and evolution and even healing in your own life in a really short amount of time. And it's something that really doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of work. It just is something that it's the really, in my opinion, the one thing that most of us don't want to do. And why I'm making this video, why I'm sharing this, is because I get questions a lot, all the time of, okay, I have this issue. What herb should I take? Or I'm depressed. What herb should I take? Or I don't have any energy. What herb should I take? And it's like there's bigger questions to ask rather than looking at things from a purely like reductionistic, linear kind of mentality where we go to the doctor and say, "Oh, my arm hurts, give me a drug," or "my knee's sore, give me a shot." Sometimes we need to ask bigger questions and take different approaches. Herbs and all of those things are helpful, but oftentimes there's other issues that need to be addressed in order to really get to the root of the problem. So what I'm going to share with you first, I'm going to share with you when it's appropriate, who it's appropriate for, what to do, and then what it can do for you. So when is this technique appropriate and who should, pay attention and do it? Really anyone who, in my opinion, who's been through a lot of emotional stuff, um, positive or negative, that happened at a young age where we couldn't really deal with it consciously, we couldn't process it, so we kind of just put it away somewhere and just said, because our body has this inherent kind of protective mechanism to where we experience something as a child, but we don't have the cognizant or the cognitive abilities to be able to reason and understand it, so we just say, oh my God, and then just put it away. So that's one instance. Also, if there's things that we just suppress, areas of our life, things that happen, we just say, oh my God, I don't want to deal with that, and just put it away. It's someone who needs to be paying attention. Or it's someone who has recurring issues that don't really respond to any sort of treatment or any kind of modality that might be experimented with. So someone who has, issue A, but then tries every herb, tries every strategy, tries everything, but then nothing works. So then what are they left with? So I kind of fell into both of those categories because things I went through in my life, I just kind of, put it away and said, whatever. Didn't really deal with it, but still had issues that would come up for me and would try a bajillion things, have a little bit of result, but not have the massive transformation and growth that I wanted. So that's where it's led me to this and starting more to explore things, which I'm exploring in this video. So then what do you do? What is the technique that I'm talking about? What's the technique that I just spent like 3 minutes building up to? So basically, it's this step-by-step process. What you do is you set aside some time for yourself to be alone, be quiet, whether that's 10, 20, 30 minutes or an hour, whatever you have, whatever you can do, whatever just unfolds for you. And basically, you just sit and meditate and go inside of yourself. Close your eyes, go inside, and put your attention in your gut. Put your attention in this solar plexus area where liver, pancreas, stomach, right in that middle area, because I think that's where a lot of stuff is stored, at least for me. And just really go into that and just put your attention there, and then start to ask yourself and figure out, what are things that are bothering you? What are things in your past that made you mad, that made you sad, made you upset, that were wounding, that were, you know, had some sort of negative reaction on you? And really go into that and start to ask yourself, start to dig that stuff up, and you'll be surprised because you can initiate this feedback loop between yourself or your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. You can ask a question and your unconscious mind will respond automatically, whether in a picture or a word or a feeling or a thought or a scent, something that will trigger something off in your brain. And it's really kind of freaky at first because you're like, wait a minute, I'm talking to myself, two different intelligence, two different parts of my brain, and it's pretty interesting and it's something to explore. And that's really where the answers come from, is you can go to a therapist, you can go pay people lots of money, and what are they going to do? They're going to ask you questions. They're going to get information out of you. Well, you can do that too. You can sit down and go inside of yourself and figure this stuff out and ask yourself and go into the dirt, go into the muck, go into the shadow, whatever you want to call it, and figure out what's going on there and why there may be things that are stuck or congested in that area. So ask yourself what's bothering you, figure it out, go into it, sit with those feelings, go into them. Don't run away from them, or don't do what what most of us do, which is just find a distraction. Just go into it and let it do its thing and figure it out. Okay, why does this bother me? Why did I react this way? Why did this happen, etc. And just feel it and get into it, which is basically just not fighting it, not trying to run away from it, but just accepting it and seeing it for what it is. And it might be a little uncomfortable at first. And what's probably going to happen is you might cry. You might release some emotions. Now, what's the benefits of this, and why am I bringing it up in this context? Why am I calling it like a powerful cleanse or detox? Well, because the obvious thing is, number one, you're moving stuck or congested energy. So let's say you have on one end a pool of water, and then you have a pipe or a hose coming out of it that's supposed to drain that pool of water. If that hose or pipe is congested, that water is not moving, it's flowing, so it's congested. There's gnats and mosquitoes and algae and all kinds of junk growing in it because the water is not moving. So there's one way to look at it. It's also going to increase sense of lightness, because while those emotions might feel a little uncomfortable in the short term, in the long term you're going to feel a lot better, and things are just going to flow better in your body. And then also the physical benefits, it's going to essentially be cleansing your whole system, because what are you doing when you're releasing emotions? Number one, there's tears, which are excretory, which are cleansing. There's mucus, through your nose, out your mouth. There's lots of saliva and things just pouring out of you. It's cleansing as well. Also, there's usually lots of like huffing and puffing and weird breathing, which is also very cleansing. So not only is there this emotional aspect, which energy is moving, but there's also this deep physical aspect where this junk is literally physically moving out of your body through the mucus, through the tears, through sweat, and then through your breathing. And that's how this all really ties in, and how it becomes like a holistic practice and something that you can pretty much do. And it's helpful, to write. If things come up in your mind, to write them down, and to just, if you have feelings, you have things, maybe someone that you don't know that you did know 20 years ago, and there's things you want to say but you can't, you just write it down, get it off of your chest, and just wad it up and throw it away. It doesn't matter. You don't ever have to look at it again. It's just the act of getting it out. So hopefully that's been very helpful, and hopefully it's something you actually do. Hopefully, it's something that rang a bell or it didn't, depending on, who you are and where you're at. It's something that's been helpful for me, just as a person who became a little too rational, a little too in the head, a little too like intellectual, and just kind of moved away from feelings. And that's really, in my opinion, no way to live for the long term, especially if you want to be a creative, spiritual or energetic, or whatever word you want to use to describe this, whatever archetype. But the fuel behind that is emotion, because emotion, energy, and motion. If that's stuck and blocked up, obviously energy is going to be stuck and blocked up. Since we're energetic beings, you can see what I'm saying and see how this all ties in together. So it's 8 minutes, a little bit longer than I wanted to go, but hopefully it's been a clear explanation. Hopefully you have an idea of what you can do. And most importantly, hopefully you actually do it. And if you want to send me a message, definitely do that. If you want to post your comments below, do that as well. I'm going to be out of town for the next few days, so I probably won't be on the messages. So I'll get back to you when I get back, and I look forward to talking to you soon.